God, that intro slaps so hard. God, that intro slaps good.
It's like the first time every time. Every time
I know,
see
the first time, every time. It's like the first time you ever. All right, we'll get into that in a second. Guys, I'm Dave Van Auken. That's Killer B, Taylor Starling. Episode 6. We are doing the damn thing. The Banana Bee podcast. It's been awesome. We're loving everything. We're on audio podcasts, Apple Podcasts, YouTube. Our IG's flying up. We're going to kind of throw some shit up here right now. Boom, 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 boom. We're rolling. We've talked about it. We've had guests that were going to be on the show that just got arrested. That's happened twice. Then we've had guests come on that because of seeing behind the scenes shit, they didn't want to. So a lot of stuff's happening. We are so pumped. Tay, when this person is becoming one of our favorites, both of ours together. You were on her show months ago, and you, as soon as you were on her show, I got connected and I listened to 40 of her podcasts. She's the best. I'm only talking about the one, the only Ashlee Evans-Smith, Rebel Girl. What's up, Ash? How are you?
What's going on?
Hey, guys. Thank you so much. I feel honored to be your first guest.
Number one, right there.
I mean, I am a fill-in, so I won't,
And that's the only reason that I got ready today instead of just jumping straight out of the shower. I was like, Ashlee's coming on. I had to do it up.
I know.
Well,
so for
you
me,
look beautiful.
If it was just me, Taylor's like, whatever, I'll get out of the shower, no biggie. But Ashlee's on, like, let's go. Let's get dolled up.
Well, she looks amazing always.
Oh, thank you.
She does. All right, Ash, we're so pumped to have you on. We were kind of talking about it, right before you jumped in. Like, the thing, let's just kind of start here. The thing that I'm so intrigued about, Taylor's like taking over bare knuckle. Like, she's amazing. She's doing work, running through people. And it's like she's done both. She's had the fight of the year, like the best fight bare knuckles probably ever had since that Artem Lobov Jason Knight. And then she just ran through someone in 25 seconds. And a great fighter, Cassie Rob's been around the block for a minute. She does it all. What's your take on bare knuckle? What's your first takes? What's your takes on female bare knuckle? And when we can see Rebel Girl and bare knuckle, when are we going to see that one? That's going to happen.
I have to be completely honest. I really was worried about my fellow fighters because I just think from a longevity point of view, I ask myself, how long can someone's career in bare knuckle be? I think that's like the caring, loving side of me. Like, me and Taylor became quick friends. We never even met in person, but I'm like, oh God, her face and, scarring and how many punches not like she ever takes too many punches, she's usually not on the receiving end. She's usually giving them out, but and I've got some other girlfriends and fellow coworkers that have switched over from UFC to bare knuckle. And I just was really worried at the beginning. And, I always just wish for the best because I do think that it's a little more savage than MMA. And unless there's like $1 million on the line, I don't think I'll ever switch over to bare knuckle because I love the grappling, the wrestling part of MMA. That's my background. That's the part that really, makes me passionate. But I love watching bare knuckle, and I'm not religious, but I kind of just like say a little prayer, for all the people that I'm like, please just let them not get too hurt. I know they're going to get bloody and bruised, but it's just so savage. And that's coming from a professional MMA fighter.
Right.
So what do you think about when Paige Van Zandt came over to bare knuckle?
Well, I am, friends with Rachel Ostovich and, was rooting for her in that regard. I thought Paige is great for any company, any brand, any organization. She's like the poster girl. Anyone can market Paige with that smile and that personality and that voice and her dance moves. So I think bare knuckle is so smart to get beautiful, talented, skilled fighters who, Taylor is one of them, Rachel's one of them, Pearl Gonzalez, like all these very beautiful yet deadly women to come in and kind of raise eyebrows and get everyone excited about it, not just on a like savage level, but in like a sexy way too.
Right.
Oh man,
right.
and Rachel Ostovich is so fucking nice. Like I've never she's so fucking sweet. When I met her, she's so soft spoken and just like so kind, and her whole family like brought everybody gifts to the fight. Like everybody that was fighting on the card, she brought everybody something from Hawaii, and I was just like, she's so nice. Like,
she's super sweet, but she has a feisty side for sure.
Oh yeah.
I've seen her have some drinks. But she's a great human, and I think she's, she's just like you, she's a mother, but it's so hard for me to even like accept, like, really, you're a mom, Taylor? Rachel, you're a mom? Like, how do you do it all? You're, training all the time, you're marketing yourself, you're doing podcasts, Rachel's got her makeup line, and you guys just, are awesome parents as well. I know her daughter's in the gym. I don't know if your boys are in the gym a lot, but
Oh,
I
yeah.
love that about fighter moms, how they just kind of bring their children into the gym. I think it's a great place for kids. I really do.
One thing you mentioned there, Ashlee, that really like, boom, electric, wires went over my head and saying these thoughts, like you were saying so much about grappling, how you love grappling and being on the ground. Well, Game Bred Fighting Championship, kind of the new thing on the scene, is bare knuckle, but it's UFC rules. It's 100% UFC, and they just take off the gloves. And so they had 2 events. I've been to both of them live. Maybe something in the future that Ashlee Evans Smith and I will be doing live together soon. Maybe we'll take that another time. But my point is, the first night, like, you can tell a lot of the fighters were MMA fighters and they were used to the gloves. So when they got hit by the very first time, bare knuckle, they're like, no, we're done with this. It was a wrestling tournament, and it was a jiu-jitsu match after that. Even does that spring you up a little bit? Be like, okay, if this, maybe in the future, because you can go grappling, you could pull guard, you could get on the ground rather easy.
I mean, I just, I interviewed Andrea Lee last Thursday for my podcast, and something she said that really resonated with me, and I think every fighter probably has a similar mindset. It's that we try not to get too ahead of ourselves, meaning we don't want to think about the next fight, my next stage. Like, I'm still in the UFC, I'm on the mend, I'm still under contract, I'll be back eventually. Maybe some people forgot about me, I know my division forgot about me, but I will be back. And I've got this heart and this mindset that I'm gonna rock it till the wheels fall off. I don't give a fuck, like, I'm gonna do this if it kills me. I love this sport. So I have to keep my mindset focused on the UFC and leaving my mark there. I've won some, I've lost some. Who the fuck knows? Maybe they cut me tomorrow, knock on wood. But at the same time, I just want to focus on what's in front of me. And I've got an amazing opportunity with the UFC. I do love the organization, the platform they've given me. I feel like I'm finally utilizing that, and that's something that I wish my fellow fighters did more, is take the platform that they have. UFC, bare knuckle, Bellator, whatever it is, you could start at a lower promotion as well and start multitasking. Do you want to be a fighter always? Let's face it, unless you're Glover Teixeira and you fight with all your gray hairs, like, you're probably not going to make it that fucking long, especially bare knuckle. I don't know about you guys, like, how long can you bare knuckle fight? I just don't know. So all I know is I'm going to give everything I have to being successful in my, my next run, the UFC, when I do get back in the cage. Bare knuckle, Game Bred, I don't know, but I don't ever want to say no for sure, because it's a crazy world. Never say never, right?
So Taylor and I, before you came out, we're like, hey, we're going to tag team question. We're going to go back and forth, but I'm stealing this one just because how you said it. Like, I'm so happy you went there, because like, that's where I wanted to bring this conversation, because all 3 of us are doing it in a way. Like, at the end of the day, other than Glover Teixeira at 45, and I don't fight at all. I don't even fight at 25. But like at 45, like, we're not hopefully going to be fighting, right? Like, what's next? Like, with us and podcasting and commentary, and like, I seen you were doing a lot of jits things, which is awesome. Ashlee being there and doing some stuff on the fly. Like, I think this is so, like, this isn't going anywhere. Like, Joe Rogan opened that door years and years ago, and it just seems like it keeps on getting bigger and bigger. We saw you on Anik and Florian, they're doing great stuff. Your podcast, like, one, like, is that where you do admire to be or push to be? And then kind of at the back end of that, like, when you thought, like, hey, I'm going to do a podcast, when was it like, oh shit, we're going to talk about sex for 45 minutes every episode? Like, when was that's your moment? Like, me and Taylor were like, hey, what are we going to do? We want to do this, but we're just going to talk about everything. We are going to talk about family, sex, fights, whatever, Halloween, whatever is up, we're going to talk about it. But yours is kind of strictly mostly about sex,
Yeah. Well, I'll start with that part of the question first. I really I didn't just want to be another MMA podcast, because maybe this is me showing how, you know, kind of lower self-esteem I have sometimes. But I was like, nobody wants to hear me talk about fighting. They want to hear the champs talk about fighting, or they want to hear legends talk about fighting. But then, I kind of like dug deep. It's like, what do I love? What can I, you know, basically I realized that there's two things that I really love, and that's fucking and fighting, which is very blunt. And I think that with the platform that I have, and podcasting being such a amazing medium, that I found a way to mesh the two. And I have been in the sport for over a decade, so I get to utilize the friends and the networks that I made over the
Right.
years. I think I'm an outgoing person, so I'll just slide into somebody's DMs and be like, "You want to be on my show?" And like 99% of the time, they're like, "Sure." And the 1% of the time, it's like, "My girlfriend doesn't want me to talk about butt stuff," and I'm like, "Okay, understandable."
Or you get the ones I went into Ashlee's DMs and I was like, "I love you. If I could ever just like come on your podcast, that would be the greatest thing ever." And she was like, "Oh, absolutely."
Yeah, that was so nice. I was like, the work just did itself, like the guest came to me, and that has happened a few times, I'm not gonna lie. And that's like one of those things that as a podcaster, it makes you feel like, okay, like this is paying off. People are taking
Yes.
notice. Not to give anything away, I'm going to talk about it on Thursday, or I think I already talked about it actually. We're in negotiations with a streaming service that wants to acquire my podcast, and whether or not that works out, whatever. But I take that as a sign that I'm doing the right things, and that it will pay off. Maybe not this time, but eventually. So I'm just going to keep my nose to the grindstone and keep, pushing out content and doing other stuff like the jiu-jitsu events and commentating and that kind of stuff. To answer your other question, the John Anik and Kenny Florian podcast, that for me, that's like a baby step, right? Like being on other very large podcasts, and even being like worthy enough, because I am on the bench and I forget, that's okay. Like I still have a name in the sport. I've fought some high level people and I've done some cool stuff, but I guess I just always have the bar very, very high for myself. But where I aspire to be, it's funny because when I started this podcast, Sex and Violence, the Rebel Girl, I didn't think I'd make $1 million. I didn't really I thought like maybe I'll break even, maybe I'll make a couple $100, something like that. Uh, but now I'm realizing that it's really just a gateway. It's opening doors for me.
Right.
And maybe I want to be an analyst, maybe I want to be a commentator, maybe I want to be a backstage interviewer. I don't know exactly. I'm doing a lot of things to kind of seeing what I like most, and also to see, maybe someone, they see me doing my thing and then they want to hire me, whether that's ESPN or the UFC or, whatever, Fight Bananas,
Right.
So, whatever it is, like, I think I'm on a little, journey right now, a little vision quest while I'm on the mend. I don't know what life holds for me, but I know that right now I'm going to try and set my life up for my post-fight career.
Yeah, I think the one thing, I was sitting there this morning getting ready, doing my makeup, and I had like some huge interview today about like a sponsorship thing. And I was like, man, I hope that like this works out and I make money and stuff like that. And then I like really was sitting there because I don't have a fight right now. I just got fired from my job. So it's like, I don't have a fight, like all of the things like coming into life. And I'm sitting there thinking to myself, like, if you don't have something to like fall back on, or like have something that you're building for yourself, like our sport is so volatile, like in MMA, boxing, everything, like you never know, like you could just one day not be able to fight. And then it's like, you got to have something like as backup,
Yeah.
So I was really sitting there like contemplating that this morning. So to hear you talk about that and like what we have going on, like you got, like you can use this as like a gateway, like you said, to branch out and do other things and build yourself something else within that. So yeah, that was really awesome to hear you say that.
Yeah, I don't know where I'm gonna be in a couple years when I'm done fighting. I don't know, but I think that why not just try a whole bunch of stuff? Like something's gonna stick, right? Like I don't, I did a couple movies in the past couple years, like very small roles. I'm like, do I want to be an actor? Do I want to be a stunt woman? Like all that stuff sounds fun to me, but you know, they're all crazy industries to get into, and they're all very hard. But I mean, what can we do? We're not going to give up. You got mouths to feed, Tay, like me and my dog, I got to take care of my dog. So, yeah, it's just a grind always. But I really love everything that I'm, dipping my hands into, like acting and stunt work and commentating, podcasting, reporting. Like, it's all fun stuff. And they're a little aligned in the sense that they're very extrovert, meeting new people, doing research. And yeah, I like it.
And a lot of people ask me too about work. Like, they'll say, like, why are you even still working a job? And I'm like, well, if something was just to happen or something, like I just enjoyed, I'm not working there now, but I enjoyed baking. So it's like, I enjoy doing that. It was like my time away from fighting and momming and doing all the other things. So it was work nonetheless, but I got to be there and just completely not focused about anything else other than like what I was doing right in front of me. And, yeah, I just feel like it's so important to have things too outside of that. But everyone always asks me, why don't you quit your job? Why don't you? Well, I'm not rolling in the millions, first of all. And like, you never know. Like, I just heard maybe the other day I might be fighting next year in like March. And it's like, fuck, what am I going to do then? Like, until then, I got to keep my momentum going on my own, like to keep all the side hustles going.
For sure. And it's a rough sport. Like you said, we love this sport, and sometimes the sport doesn't love us back. And let's just face it, especially in the UFC and in mixed martial arts, it's years behind football, baseball, basketball. We have to negotiate our own deals. Sometimes we have an agent, sometimes we don't, but we're posting for sponsors to make a couple hundred extra bucks, and then we're going to training camp, and then we're baking, or what I mean, doing whatever other life stuff. And it's a very, very rough sport. And I think you're smart to keep working. I'll give you an example. I won a title, like my second pro fight, I won a title, like 145. I was bigger girl, bigger than. And I was like $20,000. And it was very good for only having 2 pro fights. Yeah. And I kept working my waitressing job. And everybody was like, why? And I was like, number one, like, I need something to keep me out of trouble, like, because I need to stay focused. If I, sometimes I work or do other stuff just so I don't get distracted, like there's like a religious quote, like idle hands are the devil's playground or some shit. And I'm like, that's true. Like, when I don't have anything to do, I'm going to get in fucking trouble. But so, and then number 2 was, I knew that, I could get injured, or a opponent would pull out, whatever. So it's very smart to have a backup plan. If you can find a way to make money while you're sleeping, that's the best. That's what I'm finding out. And that's why I really try to start pushing merchandise through my website and little things like that. But I'm 34 and I'm just now figuring this out. So I feel bad for the people that are, 1-0 and newbies. It's like, man, it's a rough sport for sure.
It is. A question for you is, and I think somehow it came out, Ashlee, that we were talking about it like, I don't even know. I had no idea. It's probably in the 300s and 400s podcasts that I have done. And, I know you're around 70-ish in your podcast and stuff like that. We talked about how funny 69 was going to be. And, and now with Andrea Lee and all this stuff. So like, and Taylor and I, so this is our 6th. And I think I knew Taylor was going to be, literally Julia Roberts in her prime, like the first time. She's just so good at talking and connecting, and her and I can communicate about anything and just spit fire anything. And it's like, I knew it was going to be great. When for you in your podcast, to be like, what was the light bulb moment? Like, was it the first episode? Was it the 50th? Maybe you haven't had it yet, or maybe I think you had, because you know how much I adore you on your show. I just think you're a natural at it. It's like, when did that light bulb happen? Be like, okay, I got this thing. I'm pretty good. Like, I don't need notes. I'm just going to go do my thing. I'm going to talk into this microphone and I'm going to be all right. It's going to happen.
I always use notes, and I over research sometimes because I want to do so well. And so, I get nervous every single time. I've had 72 episodes and I've been nervous 72 times.
Wow,
sometimes,
that's great.
Sometimes I get less nervous when it's a fighter, because I'm like, all right, we can shoot the shit about fighting. If I, run out of things to talk about, no big deal. And I get way less nervous if it's someone like Taylor or Pearl. It's like, we're just fucking girl talking. That's great. But then it's like, okay, you're interviewing Brad Williams, who has like 3 or 4 Netflix specials. He's a dwarf comedian, and I'm like, what the fuck am I gonna, like, and I'm nervous, and but then it turns out to be an amazing podcast, and so corny to say, but some of the best feelings in my life I've ever gotten have been right after I was fucking nervous and scared and kind of wanted to throw up. So I was like, let's just do it. If you're scared, just do it. It doesn't always come out great. I've had some episodes, I think back, I'm like, oof, like just not the best. But my light bulb moment, like I said, I set my bar very, very high. So I still think I suck. And I think I'm coming up with like better questions to ask and all that. But I still use my notes, and the whole thing isn't video. It's only audio, and I only do little clips to kind of pull people into the audio. But if we do get signed to that streaming service, they would be basically giving us money to go full video. And I'm like,
right.
My notes, like, and I have to like look at the camera and be more engaged, but I'm afraid of that, so I'm gonna do it,
And like, when did, if that's the case, if that happens, like I thought about that, like it's not odd. I'm trying to say this the best way I can, I guess. I couldn't believe that your whole podcast wasn't on YouTube already, because like with you and your guests, like you and Taylor would be great visually, and you guys are great visually. So like you guys on on YouTube, there you go. You guys on YouTube would be like good, and like you said, people watch it when you guys are sleeping. You're making money on YouTube and stuff of that nature, or any social media platform. So I thought, like, when I saw that, but like, we know you're a guy who makes the videos for you. He is phenomenal. Like, the stuff he does really does bring people in and all that. So it's like, yeah.
Well, Dave, you're totally right, and you sound like my boyfriend right now, because God, I've never dated someone so intelligent when it comes to business. And I'm very like, the stars are lined for me. Like, I've got my shit together, and then I met him, and I was like, oh, I really want to be an adult. And he's like, well, this is how, and so he basically helps me, like, I did my taxes this year, like, woo, but he's basically letting me know, like, he's the one who told me, he's like, you got to find a way to make money while you sleep, the gear, the merchandise, and the YouTube. And that's just me being lazy, because Taylor understands. It's like, fuck, you are so tired when you train for a fight camp and you do all this stuff. I'm not in fight camp, so I guess I don't have that much of an excuse, but I book the guests, I write the show, I do all the social media marketing. I don't do the graphics animation. That's Nick Corey at Air Media Production.
The best.
He's the man. Yeah, the best. But other than that, like, I do a lot of stuff, and it's like, it's a little time consuming. And then I've got my physical therapy. Like, I don't want to neglect my boyfriend. And so I put YouTube on the back burner, when in all actuality, I should be making it a priority. But then it's like, it's a whole nother animal, right? It's like, okay, I have a little fucking camera. Basically, if I end up getting signed to a streaming service and they give me money, like, I would have the funds to create a better product, and then I could actually put that on YouTube. But right now I'm a little scared to put a shitty product out, because there's some videos on there, and it's like, one has no sound, and one, it's just like, oh, I'm trying, guys, I'm fucking trying. And it's been a year and a half, but if anyone said podcasting is easy, fuck off. It's not.
That's literally every single episode that we've fucking done so far. I have my ring light, and I'm like, oh, this is gonna be so easy. I'm gonna sit here in front of my camera. Me and Dave are gonna talk. It's gonna be easy. I went and bought like an expensive ass laptop. Haven't even fucking used it, because every time I go to use it, doesn't work. My ring light, every single episode, in the middle of the episode, shuts off, and I'm always just like, wow, like, it's not so easy. Like, it's really not.
And like, right before Ashlee got on, like right before, Taylor's like, so like, how long, like, because I've had a lot of, I've recorded a lot today. I did a lot of great interviews, super blessed, really good people, really great time, great content. And she's like, how much time? I'm like, oh no, that takes all the time. Like, we talked for 25 minutes. It's going to take me 2 hours to get it on YouTube, get it on audio, make artwork, cut out a minute video, upload it to all these platforms. I'm like, that takes hours and hours. And it's like, that's the time.
Yeah, unless you've actually gone through the whole process of recording, like booking a podcast, writing notes, recording it, uploading it, which fucking takes forever. I actually, before I found a program called WeTransfer and learned that you need to hook up your Ethernet cable, I would sit. This is such a fucking meathead, dodo, bird brain thing. And thank God I know Nick now in Amsterdam. He's the one who told me this. He's like, why don't you just connect your Ethernet cable? But I would like click like, okay, upload, and then like it would go so slow that like I would have to just keep checking on it. It would take like a day and a half to upload one podcast, right? So, and then here's another stupid thing I did. My laptop was on sleep mode, so whenever it would go to sleep, it would stop downloading. So
Yes,
like
yes.
I would be like watching TV, and I'd be like, oh,
yeah.
oh, and I'm just like, this
You're like,
cannot,
any day now. Yeah.
they're like, this cannot be my life. I'm spending hours just on this fucking download, and I'm just like, okay, you want to be a podcaster?
Yeah.
That's the funniest shit ever. Sometimes I have to do it like through my phone. Like I have to upload a YouTube on my phone after I download it, and I use StreamYard, and you can upload shit like that. And when your phone goes to under 20% and it goes like on power save in memory,
low battery, yeah,
low battery mode. So when I try to upload it, my phone does that. It's like it wants to shut up. I'm like, boom, boom. Sometimes I'll be laying in bed on my pillow, like just wanting to go to sleep. I'm like just digging my phone just for it to show up so it can upload.
Yeah,
that's
but
that's podcast life.
That is, and like there's an easier way, and there's podcast hacks and like tips and tricks, and it's just like there are books, and I did actually read before I started the podcast, and I almost didn't start the podcast because cancel culture is a really big thing, and I thought to myself like, fuck, the last thing I need is somebody being like, Ashlee's a bigot, Ashlee's racist, Ashlee's this, like not because I was gonna say anything biggity, or racisty, but like it's just because everyone takes everything out of context, and let's face it, like love or hate me, like I've got a lot of fans, but I got a lot of haters too, so it's like I was nervous, but fuck it. Here we are.
That gave me like one of the questions that I've been sitting in my head this whole like since I knew you were coming on, and like or even knew that you might come on the show, is like, how do you deal with the haters? Because I, that was one of the hardest things for me, transitioning to having something like blow up overnight, like from being not known at all to like people knowing who I am. And like, man, every day I have someone like just coming for my soul on the internet. I got people who make fake pages, put my nudes on there. I got people who like cuss me out in my comments that don't even know me. And I'm like, I bet Ashlee, like, I'm sure she goes through this shit too. Like, I'm sure all of us do, but it's like, how do you how do you handle that? Because now I definitely feel like I'm a lot better at it. But there every so often I'll see like a comment or something that I'm just like, ugh. But
oh my gosh. Yeah.
I do a really good job. My nudes don't get out at all. Like my nudes stay home. It's me, my wife, our nudes stay home. So that's us.
The whips and the chains that Susie has locked up in the closet.
Don't say that, Dave. It could happen. I just interviewed Jonathan Sadowski. He's an actor for a TV show called Sex Life. Like it's on Netflix. Like it was the #1 show for a little while. And he didn't have nudes out there, but someone made nudes. They put his head on porn and they put it out on the internet. And then he like, it's so funny. He actually like DM'd him. He's like, these are the ones. And I was like, some of them look kind of real. And then it's like, oh, that's a Photoshop. But it's like, the internet will always be undefeated. And you just have to, that you're not in competition with the internet. Like never try to beat it. You can't, feed the trolls and all that. But at the same time, like I'm such a fucking softie, Taylor. I totally understand. I'm like, yeah, I got thick skin. None of this stuff bothers me. And then like every once in a while, like someone will say something that's just like, fuck, it's my trigger. It's like you got a big head. I'm like, damn, I do have a big head. Like,
that's how I swear. I'm just like, I ignore it and they come for me. And then at first everything ate me up. At first, every single comment, I would sit and just be like, and then I was like, all right, I got to ignore it. But people are like, I think it's so crazy to think that there are people that sit at home. Like, for instance, like I being a hater online, whatever, that's just like normal. But someone who like sits and takes the time to like make an account of you or like make some hate account of you and sit behind that and like do shit with that. I think that's just so wild. But fuck.
I mean, so I think when you blew up, like I was so happy. I feel like it happened around the time that you and I started talking, because I think I remember like you had like a certain amount of followers, and like the other day I saw like you had like a buttload of followers, and I was so happy for you, because just like we were talking earlier, you gotta like sometimes be your own manager, and you gotta negotiate sponsors. And let's face it, they want someone who has a lot of followers on social media, so a lot of eyeballs will be seen. When I blew up, it was when I fought the transgender, and it was just like overnight I had a fuck ton of followers, and then I also had a fuck ton of haters, because I did one interview, and in that interview I calmly said that there's not enough scientific testing to prove that transgenders don't have an advantage. Holy shit, Ashley Evan Smith is fucking homophobe. She's this, she's that. And I'm just like, it crushed me, because that was my first time blowing up. It was my first time having a lot of hate, directed towards me, and it not being true. That's the worst. It's like, say stuff about me that's like, oh, she fucking, she's raunchy, she's, sexualizes herself too much, she's a shitty fight, like whatever, but like, to say that I have hate in my heart for an entire community of people when I really have like a lot of love for them, that really, really like hurt me. And I think ever since then, I got a little bit thicker skin, but there's been plenty of times after I lost fights or won fights or been in the news for some stupid ass shit, and people come at me, and every once in a while I'll still get my feelings hurt. And I think that, that's because we are the way, just, I don't think it's ever going to change unless you and I just become completely numb and jaded, and
Right.
but I don't ever want to be like that.
I'm like the most emotional crybaby bitch. And that's just that I've tried to change it. It don't work. I can't. I'm too sensitive.
Ash, I know we're going to let you go. I know some time stuff and like that, so we'll let you go in 2-3 minutes. Kind of my thing I was going to say about that, like, and it's like so funny. People can make like, I don't know. I guess the older I get and being a dad, like I've seen and done crazy things. Like it feels like especially on social media, like nothing someone can say will fuck with me. I don't know, just doesn't mess with me. The thing that really gets me, the thing that irks me, and Taylor will know this, is like when people attack like my friends, like my family friends in the fight game. Like Taylor, one of my best friends in the world, John Radford, awesome coach. He fights, but he's also a great coach. He's like one of my best friends in the world. And one of his fighters lost for like the first time ever. This kid's like 9-0, finally took an L. It happens. It's the fucking fight game. And of course, right away, these haters were going after, like, not the kid who lost as John as the coach. I'm like, fuck, man. Like, we're not going to go. Everyone's not Habib Nurmagomedov. Everyone's not going 29-0. Like, we're going to lose in the fight game. And it was like, it ate me up inside. Like you guys said, I'm like, fuck. So like, I even myself, I made like a couple phone calls and I made some connections. We got that shit deleted. I was like, yeah, I felt good about it. But that's the thing that gets me, is like when people attack my fight family. I'm like, nah, that doesn't go good with me.
Yeah, I honestly, I used to have a friend, and she would get attacked like on the regular, and that's probably the only time that I would ever like feed the trolls and interact. And I try not to, but sometimes it's just it gets to you in a different way. Like, you could just brush it off when it's yourself, but when someone's actually talking bad about your friend, yeah, I'm right there with you. I get super fired up, and it's so fucking hard though, because you just know you're never going to make everyone happy, but at the same time it just doesn't feel good to be bullied or talked down to, even on social media. I don't know, it's hard to navigate, and I feel so fucking bad for the younger generation who, 10, 11, 12, like they're just trying to find themselves. I was such a fucking awkward little, lost kid for so long. I can't imagine having people, pick me apart on social media or get 2 likes on my picture or whatever. I'm scared for the youth. I really am.
And like kids are like, and Taylor, you can talk about this, like about your oldest son. Like we were trick or treating 2 nights ago, and like some of our older kids saw like their friends on the streets, and just hearing them how they talk, I'm like, that kid's 8 years old. Like that kid's like, hey, like after this, I'm gonna fucking go home. We're gonna watch that Netflix show, and we're gonna do that. I'm like, holy shit! Like at 8 years old, I just wanted to throw baseball with my dad. Like that's all I wanted. Like I was happy with that. It's like, it's wild, like how advanced they are so young.
Last night, okay, this is like so random, but like we were trick-or-treating, and you know, some houses will like leave a bowl and they're like, take one, and then there's of course the asshole fucking kids that come and like rip the whole bowl and put it in their bag.
Yeah.
Last night, I'm walking up to this house. There's one of those bowls. These teenagers grab the bowl of candy and start dumping it in their bag. As my kids are walking up, like pumped to get like their one little piece of candy, I looked at both of those kids and I said, at least put 2 fucking pieces of candy in that bowl so that my kids have something to grab for, or I'm gonna fuck your shit up. And they were just like,
I love that.
I love that. Like, my kids were like, can barely walk and like on their way up to get the candy. These kids are just shoving it in there. I was like, you little assholes. Like, no, hell no.
Little did they know that you were a bare knuckle fighter. You were like Pikachu last night, right?
I was dressed like Pikachu too, so they're probably like, this raggedy bitch.
No, I bet they're like, Pikachu is really scary but kind of hot. I don't know. I got a weird boner right now.
A fear boner. A fear boner.
Fear boner.
I love it. Ashlee, we can't thank you enough. On the fly, you know, we don't have to tell that much of behind the scenes, but this happened very quickly. Appreciate it. Our first guest on the Banana and Bee podcast. Episode number 6 is in the books. Any last words, Taylor? Any last words, Ash?
No, we love you so much. We both adore you. And honestly, ever since I've ever started talking to you or seeing you, like, you inspire me so much. And I try to just take in as much as I can. So, like, there are points of this I was just so quiet because I'm trying to just listen to everything you say because I think the world of you. I think you're so awesome. So thank you for coming on here.
No problem. You know, I really felt a magnetic kind of connection to you because I think that this game it's crazy. There's very few people who can do what we do, and even less females. And it's absurd to me how other females hate on each other. You and me and even the MMA community as a whole, we need to fucking band together and support each other because no one else supports us. And so I just want to give love and receive love, and you're so loving and you have a great personality. And even though I fear for your face, you know, like, I'm always going to support you in bare knuckle. I can't wait to go to one of your fights live. I will be there very soon, girl. Keep grinding. I'm one of your biggest fans.
And I'll give you a big hug. I'll give you the Dave Van Auken hug. We had like.
I was like, did she say hug?
We met each other. No, I give you a big hug, Ashlee.
A perfect way to close the show. We know that Ashlee loves to receive love. There you go.
I do. I love love.
There you go. Later, guys. Thank you so much. We're outroing it out.